Hi, everybody, and welcome to the session with Jac O'Keeffe in the Healing and Awakening Retreat. Hi, Jac.
Hi, Grace, and everybody else who's online right now.
Yeah, and hi to you, and welcome to this session, and may you benefit fully from it. So let me introduce Jac very quickly. Jac is a spiritual teacher, and she's also somebody who used to be a healer and work with people more in a healing capacity, or energetic capacity. So she knows both the healing and the awakening aspects of working with people. And so I thought she was an interesting person to have on this retreat. And in this session, we're going to talk about healing pre and post awakening. So Jac will start by just saying a little bit about that topic, and then we'll exchange about that between the two of us. And after that first half is over, you can ask questions or also come on to the retreat. I will post the link then. And for now, just enjoy the whatever Jac has to say and our exchange. So go ahead, Jac.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming to hang out with us on Saturday morning, afternoon, whatever time it is in your part of the world. When Grace approached me about this a couple of months ago, maybe, she said, "Oh, but I thought she doesn't know I'm going to say this, by the way. I thought your perspective would be, oh, there's nobody there. There's nobody that needs healing. There's nothing to do there." And I held that position for a while. And I want to talk about that a little bit in order to, as a segue into how the landscape changes at another stage on the path. When awakening happens, or when somebody is hanging out in that non-dual state, and you see that everything is connected, thoughts are just your thoughts and presenting as real because you believe your thoughts. You know that none of this is actually real. You are at rest in the natural state, and it's peaceful and calm, and all is well. From there, it's like the realization that there is no personal I unless my mind cranks it up. And during that phase of where that's solidifying, where waking up is solidifying, it's very hard to believe in the personal I. And so to get people to that stage, one technique is to constantly negate every thought, every situation, every scenario, every story that mind will present, is just hack it down, hack it down, hack it down. And I worked like that for a while. Nisargadatta Maharaj worked like that, I think, all the time. Lots of spiritual teachers work like this. So they say, there's nobody to be healed, there's nothing to heal. And it has its place, but it's not that that's true at every point of perception. It's a technique. And I think it's important for that to be seen as a technique in order to just have no attention going to any thought, to recognize how every thought is just more mind recreating the persona. So from one point of view, from that non-dual state where nothing is real, where there is only a unified field and that's pure consciousness and everything else is just mind. From that point, sure, there is nobody that is to be healed and healing is insignificant, sure. But it's only valid there. And when teachers use it, it's only as a technique to destroy anything that the mind is trying to set up. So I want to put that in a context, because it must be in a context. I've seen so many people through the years hang out there and stay there. And it segues into spiritual bypassing very quickly if one doesn't evolve from that lens of perception. Because non-duality is just a lens of perception too. And it segues into spiritual bypassing when we say, oh, that person's just in duality and I'm not. It's like, oh my goodness me. Of course, that thought alone can only appear in the dualistic realm, and that's fine. But mind will use that concept, I'm okay, and you're the one with the problem. So we just have projection, which is a very fine, dualistic, mind-created thing. But it's very different to really seeing that there is no personal I. It's very different. Really seeing that there is no personal I, there is no negotiation, there is no dialogue about you and I, there is no judgment of yourself or others. There isn't. So I wanted to talk about that, to put it in its framework, because that's kind of in the middle of what I want to talk about, where there is nobody who is there and nobody who needs to be healed before it, when the dualistic realm is playing all the time, and after it, when the wider view of the dual and the non-dual are seen from a deeper perspective. Both of those areas are rich with opportunities to see, to have new insights, to heal, to learn new things about how consciousness manifests itself in the world. So because of the divide of these different times of when healing is significant for us, pre-awakening and post-awakening healing, they're a little bit different. Pre-awakening healing, which is probably common to most people who are watching this today. Sure, it's going to help you get rid of suffering. It's going to help you to love yourself more, to have compassion for yourself, and from there change how you operate in the world. It's a pull to resolve mind loops that drive you nuts. It's the falling away, the opportunity for old ideas and belief systems to fall away, and you feel freer and looser and lighter. And this happens as part of the spiritual path. There's very few who don't have to do that. And those who don't have to do it pre-awakening, it comes and bites their ass post-awakening, sooner or later, unless they hide away in a monastic lifestyle and don't have anything press their buttons. Some people do that. That's fine, but we live in a time where life is going to throw you out into the world, and thankfully your buttons are going to get pressed. So whether they're pre-awakening buttons or post-awakening buttons, the process is still the same as long as we're engaging with life on both levels. We've got to have courage at both levels. If there is a pull to heal, to resolve, to let go, to gain insights, to loosen your own belief systems, then do whatever it is you can do to loosen these things. It's worth it. Is it an essential part of waking up? No. But is it an essential part of the completion and thorough embodiment of waking up? Yes. Yes. So whatever modalities you use pre-awakening, they might or might not be the same ones post-awakening. The invitation is to be wide open and hold no judgment at all about healing means I'm not awake. That's not true at all. You'll find if you go and live in a different culture, you'll find, oh my God, there's a belief system I never knew I had, which was subject to my frame of reference functioning in the world. Even shifting things like this, which are foundational understandings in order to know how to function in the world. Even shifting these things feels like healing something. It's the same modality. So this would be something, for example, that would come up post-awakening. And you discover, gosh, that really was a belief. And I never knew it was a belief. It's fine. Did the belief create a personal I? No. But it in some way blocked an insight. It's more that you get to see that was a belief. That was something my mind plugged into. And it becomes more empty and more clear continually. Because it must be continually. Because if in that example you move to a different culture and you see, gosh, I understood that was a belief system. That my understanding had set up a belief system. Even if you come to that point, whatever culture you live in, then you're going to have new conditioning coming in. You're going to have new norms coming in to replace the old. So they'll always will be, especially if we live in a world where you change, you meet new people, you're out and about, you're open and willing to flow with wherever consciousness puts you. If you have that sense of total surrender going on in your life, if it plans out in that way, post-awakening, you will constantly be soaking up new ideas, new information, new cultural, social norms. If your tendency was to be politically correct, you'll gravitate towards being politically correct. If your tendency was towards social justice, you'll gravitate towards what's right and wrong around social justice. I'm naming these things because post-awakening, we move towards a global understanding because unity consciousness is so strong. There will be a pull to help yourself. You as pure consciousness will want to help yourself. And so service on a grander scale happens. It's just inevitable. Service will be the only thing that makes sense. Looking after yourself in any way other than basic maintenance changes. But the basic maintenance will incorporate healing, will incorporate managing your body, will incorporate having common sense about how to manage in the world. So the landscape changes. The landscape changes. It's softer post-awakening, and it's more fluid. Something comes up and there aren't layers and layers and layers to it. Something comes up, it's recognized, there's an insight, and it's gone. It's gone. So the healing process happens very quickly. Insights come quickly. The willingness to have those insights is the key. It's the key. And that's often what's missing when somebody is stuck in the non-dual layer, when they're stuck at the embodying layer, but they haven't fully integrated and gone back out into the world to see that, gosh, it's all me, it's all what I am. And where can there be an ongoing opening, learning, willingness to change, willingness to grow? How does that fit now? And it has its place. And I suppose one of the things that hasn't helped us to understand this very well is the way that mind sets up the goal, that enlightenment, oh, everything is sorted then. Everything, like the amount of people that have asked me, how did Ramana Maharshi get cancer? Because he was very, very, very clear. And it's like, why wouldn't he get cancer? Why would he be exempt from anything? And somehow our minds set up self-realization as a utopia. All my problems will be solved then. Well, the landscape will change for sure. There'll be a greater understanding, and yes, there will be peace and calm within all the time. And you'll know that whatever mind is doing, it's just mind. There'll be another perspective that doesn't buy it ever. Does that exclude healing? Does that exclude physical illness? Does that exclude a headache or breaking your arm? Not at all. Life continues. It's just a shift in perspective. So if your mind has set up awakening as the goal that will finish everything, it won't. It won't. It's beautiful for a while because it's just, there's such a relief to be out of your own drama. But post that, life goes on, and the stillness inside becomes normal, completely normal. And you forget that other people are caught up in their story. And when you see it again, there is such compassion and love, because it's like that's yourself that's caught in that belief system that's just so bound up in pain. And so this willingness to just love yourself as the other person arises. I hope that kind of maps the landscape a little bit of how it's different between pre and post awakening, and what the dividing line is in between, and where people can get stuck there.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you, Jac. And actually, I don't have a comment right now. Did you want to? Is there anything else that comes to say?
Yes, if people have seen that that the line isn't exactly as linear as what I'm saying, it's a general map. Generally, when people get stuck in the non-dual and there isn't full embodiment and letting go, if there's some attachment to awakening, of course, the next phase of healing doesn't kick in. It's not that linear for everybody. So one marker, if you find like, it doesn't really play out like that for me, if you find it's not that sequential for you, the one marker to jump straight into is something that I'm calling non-denialism. Okay, another ism, but for the want of better language. It's like a position of non-denial. Whatever is going on for you, don't dismiss it. Now, in the non-dual state, of course, there is a dismissing of everything that the mind says, because it's always BS. It's always garbage. It's only true for the mind. But the capacity to see that it's both true and non-true at the same time is what is activated in the position of no denial. The position of no denial is a very wide view. It contains both the non-dual and the dualistic realm, because they're both states. They're both perspectives. Both of them are. So they can come in and out freely without you sticking to either one, without just being a speaker from the non-dual, without just being stuck in your drama. So go back to where there's no denial of anything. It sees everything for what it is. It recognizes stories to be real and not real. And spiritual maturity will tell you when to like say to somebody, but maybe you could see that that's just a thought, versus I'm here with you in your pain. I'm sorry that you feel that. And it's spiritual maturity that will somehow enable that inner movement within you to know which response is the one that pure consciousness is doing in that moment. Does it need to hold itself in the pain to allow the painful experience to happen? Or does it need to be pulled back out of the drama so that the pain is seen to be just a creation of mind? That emptiness, that level of emptiness, is the characteristic of the non-denial state, non-denial perspective, I should call it, I guess. There's room for all of it. And you can see that every position, every technique has its place. It's like a different perspective that doesn't have you sticking to any point of perception. It's very allowing. It's open, it's wide, it's empty, and it listens. Like you as the body mind are listening to find the inner prompt. What is consciousness doing now? And it's like you're just listening for the movement. So your actions, your thoughts, your thoughts that evolve into actions, their origin is from pure consciousness. You will find that most of the time you're doing an action and your mind is playing catch up. Your mind is watching it. It's beautiful when you start seeing that. I remember the very first time I saw that. And that happens a lot of us. Pure consciousness is acting through our form quite a lot. We're not always acting out from our drama. very often pure consciousness is acting out, but we don't have the insight to see that that's what's happening because we're kind of asleep, you know? Mm. And the very first time I saw that happening, myself and my first husband were living in a healing center in Ireland. We were running a residential space. And I came back from a kinesiologist actually, who was helping me to weave through my own garbage. Coming back, and I had something specific that I was supposed to do online. And my body just peeled off my jacket, pulled off my boots, walked straight to the bedroom. And I was like, I have to follow up. I told somebody I'd get back to them this afternoon. And I found myself pulling off my clothes and getting into bed. And I was like, holy moly. I had no control over that. I so want to send that email or respond, whatever it was. And here I am in bed. And my body just did it. And I went, all right, okay, I'm either going nuts or this is something fantastic. I'm just going to go with the fantastic thing. All right. So let's see if something else can, you know, where is that other wisdom? It's like in that healing session, something was opened, which allowed something other than my thoughts to direct my action, but allowed me to see that that's what was happening. And that's beautiful when that starts happening. It was just a chink. So I used to play with that a lot, especially in India, because I was just doing nothing really except hanging out and meditating and walking the mountain and stuff like that. And I remember spending days on end of like, all right, I've just woken up. I'm going to do nothing unless there's a movement by pure consciousness. Nothing. And sooner or later, you'll end up going to the bathroom. Ended up having a shower. And I sat there, made a little bit of food and sat, and just sat and waited for the action to come. And it's a fantastic exercise to ignite. It's like, well, really, if my mind isn't in charge, what is it that would move? And get to taste that feeling of something that's other than your mind being in charge. So it's like we have to learn how to listen to that movement. I was working with somebody actually on Thursday, 2 days ago, and I was introducing this concept. And what I ended up saying is, you know, here's a way to find it. What would love do now? What would love do? Because he didn't quite get what would pure consciousness do. It was just too empty for him. And it was just too much of a leap. Mm-hmm. He'll get there because it is what would pure consciousness do. And it's like, whoa, nothing. And it's like, yeah, okay. Spend a few days like that. Get to know that space. But as an interim, for those of us who can't do that yet, and honor where you're at. You've got to honor where you're at. That's the place filled with integrity for you. That in-between place is what would love do now? Not a conditioned idea of love. That's got to go. Not your belief of love. Not acting out from absence of love or needing love. None of that. What would pure love do now? Let's see what happens. Because that's where it's all heading, is so that there is nothing obscuring, hijacking, redirecting the movement of pure consciousness. Nothing. Nothing. That it's only your divine essence that is saying everything, doing everything. And so healing is inevitable, because when we're broken, or some part of it has a belief system or an old wound that's not healed, or a belief in abandonment or loneliness or failure or lack of confidence. I mean, there's a cocktail for all of us. When something like that is looking for attention, it's looking for attention to be healed. But what we do in our blessed ignorance is we act out from it, because that's the only attention we're ready to give it. Rather than seeing that it's a part of us that needs addressing and healing and integration, the only attention we'll give it is to act out from it. That's fine. If that's the only way that you can recognize your wounds, it's because you act out from them. See it. See the hassle that it causes in your life. And if something is causing pain for somebody else, and it doesn't feel okay, honestly, doesn't feel okay, then check inside. It's like, all right, so what made me act in that way? And can I put a loving, positive, healing attention on that? Rather than give it airspace by dumping or hurting or projecting on somebody else. Let me take it back into my heart and heal it and soften it. It's the essence of healing, really, you know. But we live in a culture where we go to somebody to help us, to hold the space for us to do that. And sometimes that's necessary. But a lot of the time, if we get some tools, we can do an awful lot for ourselves. But we have to have access to love, to pure love.
You know, my sense is that at the beginning, you know, when we're very caught in whatever suffering, whatever painful conditioning is there, we actually do need somebody else to be that unconditional love, holding perception. Yes. And the more we know that we are that, you know, the more we can be that for ourselves. But that in itself is, you know, partly an outcome of healing, you know, partly an outcome of having, you know, like in my own life, I was in psychotherapy for 9 years. And at the beginning, I really needed to experience that unconditional listening and holding and presence that my therapist provided. And later on, you know, it became more of a habit that I could develop myself.
Yes.
And even so, it was still kind of, you know, the love was still quite conditional. You know, I wasn't able to be present to everything.
Yes.
And that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of looking for healing, is that we experience that unconditional presence. Hopefully in a therapist, you know, if it's a good therapist or good healer.
Yes, because sometimes the maze is just so deep that you can't even see. It's like, stay outside of it for me so that I can grab onto you and pull myself up. You know? We can't sometimes. And, you know, in the last couple of years, I work a bit with spiritual teachers. Because invariably, spiritual teachers that I've met along the way, it's like, oh, it's so great to talk to another spiritual teacher, because I've nobody, like my own friends can't see me. They can't, because it's not like resolving something. Post-awakening, it's really important still to have another teacher hold the space for you, because they get to see it really quickly if you can't see it yourself. Because just like that, it's not a therapist, but it's somebody who's just not caught in that belief system. So it's like they hold the light, they hold the energy for you, and we help each other.
Yes,
you know?
Yes, totally. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like somehow whatever is caught, whatever is unconscious, sometimes just needs the mirror of awareness.
Yes.
You know, and that is true pre and post awakening.
Yes.
Because, you know, things do come up, things do somehow, you know, we find ourselves doing things that are really either painful to us or painful to others. And that's like a signal, you know, it's like something's not conscious there.
That's right.
Something needs to be looked at here.
Yes, something is perverting the natural flow of your divine essence.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it continues to happen, you know. I'd love to just demystify that post-awakening, it's all sorted. No, the landscape's a bit different, but no. Growth goes on, the willingness to, you know, to heal. It just happens differently. The insights come really quickly. But yes, there are times when you need another spiritual teacher there to know that it's not about drama. So just to know, there's the insight. Oh, I'm looking outside for that instead of inside. Oh, of course. And they get it like in 10 minutes, you know?
Yes. Yes.
There's no drama. There's no pain around it. It's just a blindness. But I still call it healing, you know?
Yes, it is. You know, I mean, I had a session recently with a spiritual teacher who, and there was some very early traumatic conditioning that somehow just revealed itself.
Yes.
And it was incredibly healing, because I hadn't been quite aware of it like this.
Yes. Yes.
And this, the very presence of clear awareness made it possible to experience it in a very different way. And it was just so beautiful. I feel like it was preparation for this retreat, really.
Sure.
And it just kind of presented to me just how there can be such clarity in the experience of something that was very traumatic and that really conditioned all of my life in a way. It conditioned basically, an avoidance of conflict, because there was a conflict that was very traumatic for me. And so I could see that so clearly and so beautifully. And it was just, it changed, what I didn't realize is it changed how I also respond to conflict now. Mm-hmm. It's really different.
Yes,
much freer.
Much freer.
I don't have to run away anymore,
That's it.
So, and it's amazing how that is possible just through clear seeing. I mean, for me, it's always seems to be a clear seeing that creates that release.
That's right. It's like your attention pulls back from the wound, from the wound. It's like, wow, you can see the wound, and now you're freer and more open for something else to participate through you.
It's funny because I wouldn't even say it's a pulling back. It's more like a co-presence. There is the experience that is painful, that is traumatic, and at the same time there is an awareness of that experience.
Okay.
So there's, for me, I mean, that's for me. It's like this pulling back. There's just both.
Yes.
There's the experience and there's the awareness. And that's what seems to somehow allow the conditioning to loosen.
Until it's dissolved and it's gone.
Yeah.
And forgotten.
Yeah.
They completely dissolve,
And I wanted to come back to your experience in India. I mean, you spent time in India and you were in a very clear state there. And my sense of the Eastern teachings is that they stress more just hanging out in the absolute.
Yes.
And it's really actually a gift of the Western non-dual teachings, like you yourself have come to, I mean, I think that's actually very typical to say, well, actually, it's almost like our mission is to bring awareness to all of life. It's no longer just a question of hanging out in the absolute. It's actually finding that meeting space between the absolute and the relative, between awareness and an everyday experience. And that's somehow, to me, that's really the contribution of that's the coming together of the Western kind of stress on experience and healing, and the Eastern teachings of the absolute. It's like both actually ultimately need to become one.
Yes. And you know, maybe my own understanding will get more refined in the next few years, but I do think a lot of what is happening in the Eastern teachings is it's for the masses to bring people to the non-dual state.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't go further because it's playing to the mind in order to get people to that level.
Yes.
It's like the wide end of the tunnel to get everybody, or to make it accessible to everybody, to recognize the natural state, the non-dual state, and the show's over. So it's like it's set up as a goal for mind. Now, the teachings beyond that, they were there, but they weren't, they were in the back room, you know. They were given.
And usually, I guess traditionally, they were given between guru and disciple, you know, they weren't public teachings. And they were very individual because, you know, however awakening unfolds and healing unfolds is very individual, you know, it's not,
Yes.
There just isn't a general map, you know, it's so, it's so just this life, this experience, you know, and what does love want here? What needs to be seen? You know, what's the awareness that needs to be gained? You know, gained is not a good word.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Accessed. Yeah. I mean, traditionally, I remember reading that traditionally a disciple would work for the guru in service for 12 years before given the more advanced teachings, you know. So it's just that the West took the first layer and we're figuring out the next layer ourselves and making it what we do, we talk and we make it available and we spread it, you know. But the teachings were there, but they were given very, very discreetly and carefully, and there's a good reason for that, because a lot of people can't use them, you know. If you hear stuff that's beyond you, it's like would you say everything to a child? No, we don't. We keep certain things away from children, you know, violence, stuff about porn. There's no need to tell a 6-year-old about these things, you know. And it's similar to that. There's a spiritual maturity also. So getting to see the truth, to see the essence of who you are, let's try and get that one sorted. And when that's pretty much there, all right, you know, but we have all of the information there. So now we've come up with spiritual bypassing happens because people are grabbing the concepts too quickly. They're grabbing the spiritual concepts and their mind is using it in order to stay stuck. So we've got this other layer of difficulties that were never in the Eastern, that I could see, that were not in the Eastern teachings, because they were careful about who would be told what and when.
Yes.
And so now we've got to be careful around hiding when there's lack of self-honesty and such things, you know. So it's interesting, huh? We're living interesting times to see the pitfalls and the wonderfulness of having so much information available to us.
And, you know, I'm just struck as we're talking about how also the relationships of teaching have shifted. I mean, they were very individual relationships between, you know, in the East, guru and disciple, or in the West between, you know, in the monasteries. You know, there was a spiritual director who would work with monks and nuns, you know. I mean, that was there were very individual relationships. And so the attention and the teaching that was needed was given.
Yeah.
And this is no longer the case. You know, I mean, teachings are accessible on the internet. People listen to YouTubes, they go to retreats, and they don't necessarily get individual attention.
Yes.
They don't even get to speak to a teacher because there's too many people on retreat. So it's like somehow, though, there is a possibility of becoming aware oneself. You know, I think that has grown. And it's through recognizing where there's a need to look more closely, because invariably it won't feel good. So, it's like that's the clue.
That's the clue.
And if there's a need for help, probably there also is a sense of, needing to look for help. It's different, like people are more on their own, but at the same time also, hopefully when they need help, they will look for help.
Yes. Yes. And to have the wisdom to know when you need outside help. One thing that's inevitable is the accumulation of tools in order to be able to manage yourself spiritually. Psychotherapy is great for that. I had 8 years of it, you had 9. It gave me such a toolkit to be able to understand myself and understand how it works, how the Jac character worked. It really taught me different ways to heal myself. Gosh, what do people do if they don't have that toolkit? You got to get tools somewhere, I don't know where. My story would have been something different if I didn't have that toolkit, to learn how do I manage myself? How do I get insights here? And there's a lot of people, I'm thinking of 2 straight off actually, just pop into my mind. 3, okay, who've seen the truth, but they've no work done. They act out all the time, and then, which is so what? It's just my personality. I know it's not real, and it's like, oh my good Lord, bless us and save us. It's like, where do you start there? Where do you start there? The healing hasn't even started, and there isn't enough tools to recognize the level of insight that you need. That the personal is actually hidden away so strongly that it's denied. That it's denied. There is no personal I, and it's like, oh dear. That acting out is happening and using the spiritual concepts for it. And that happens if we don't have the tools, and if we're not honest and we're not open, and being able to say, this is my crap. It stinks, but this is what I have to deal with. Will you help me? And to be able to say that to somebody is wonderful in some shape or form. This is wonderful to have that openness to like, all right, okay, I can be vulnerable here and I'm not destroyed. It's some part of me knows there's a deeper part of me, but this is my crap. All right, help me to weave through this. Yes, have that kind of courage, folks. Have that kind of courage.
That's
stop
beautiful.
Hiding from yourself. Just hiding your crap from your own life. It's like, why would you do that? Why? Kidding ourselves that we're fine when we're not. Brutal self-honesty. I'm kind of, seems to be my tagline. Brutal self-honesty.
Yes.
It is such a good tool. It's such a good tool. We're just bullshitting ourselves, really. For what? For what? What's hiding there?
So, Jac, maybe that's a good time I'm aware of time also.
Yes.
Maybe that's a good moment to hand over to people who may be ready to look at their crap. I'll be brutally self-honest with you.
Or shoot the breeze, whatever.
This is your chance. So 2 things. I need to post a link to the Hangout. I'm just going to do that. So if you want to join us on the Hangout and work with Jac in real time, this is your chance. I'm just posting the link.
Do we go straight into it, Grace, or is there a pause?
There will be a little lead up time because people need to get into the Hangout.
Okay.
Okay. And I need to publish it, which I'm doing right now. So basically what you need to do if you'd like to come onto the Hangout with Jac and work with Jac directly, what you do is you go back to the retreat program page with the links, you refresh the page, and you will find the link live, and you click it and you join the Hangout.
Can I take a 1-minute break, Grace?
Yes, you can, Jack. So I'm just going to mute people because it's actually quite noisy. I'll mute you until you come on, okay? I can't seem to mute Alexander. And I will also look at the YouTube page to see if there's any comments or questions on the YouTube page. So bear with me just a second to see if there's any comments or questions on the page. So bear with me just a second. Okay, folks, so you guys need to mute your, I'm going to mute you because there's a lot of sound interference. And I'll unmute you when I bring you on, okay?
Sure. Thanks, Blaise.
And I'll unmute you when I bring you on, okay? Perfect. So somebody's still muted. Okay. So let's see. So I'm just checking. This Bernard from Montreal, Sandra from Ontario, Jerome from Paris, France, Lee in Florida, Max in Dublin, from Dublin, Ireland, Henri Le Lorrain, Michael from Jack's from Tucson, Arizona, Chevy in Grants Pass, Deepak in Colorado, Elaine from Nova Scotia. Michael from Jack's from Tucson. Okay, so Chevy in Grants Pass, Deepak in Colorado. People, when you come on, you really need to mute yourself because otherwise, and please close down your YouTube watch page because otherwise we get a lot of interference here. So going back to the YouTube thread, just checking whether there's a rich love and prayers. Nuria, namaste from Ibiza. Vikal from Rotterdam. Vishal from Rotterdam. Susan Bird says, hello, Jack. Lovely to see you here. Primoz and Osha from Slovenia. So welcome to all of you. It's about 57 watching right now. There's no questions on the YouTube comment thread. So I'm just going to pick somebody on the Hangout. Let's see. 57 watching right now. There's no questions on the YouTube comment thread. So I'm just going to pick Sandra. Please shut down your YouTube watch pages.
Grace, I'm hearing you twice.
I know, that's because people have their YouTube watch pages on.
Okay.
If you know how to go back and shut it down, please do. Okay. So let me bring on Lucero. Hi, Lucero. I've unmuted you.
Yes. Hi. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi, Jack.
Hello.
So good to hear you again.
Nice to see you again. Yes.
So just a brief question to give opportunity to others. When you mentioned pure love, are you referring to a different kind of love than the love that we know as unawakened human beings? And how do we have access to this purer love?
Yeah, good question. The love, the normal love, I love my dog, I love the sun shining, I love the beach. That's a very, very diluted version of what I'm talking about. It's kind of a taste or a feeling that you can only get when you drop your attention into your heart.
Okay.
Your mind knows nothing about this kind of love. That's why your mind has to put it in terms of loving another. It has to do subject, object all the time. It's like you energy. I'm going to kind of talk about it in a few different layers so that people can access it, because we all have different ways of looking at things. It doesn't originate in your head. That's the first feeling. It's like it comes from someplace, either deep in your belly or your heart center. But it doesn't use logic. It doesn't use, if I do this, this will happen. It doesn't avoid consequences. It's not driven by attachment or desires. You have to listen. It's a nice technique to ask the question because it makes you listen. It gives your mind a position. It's like, well, what would love do now? So your mind goes into the back seat and say, okay, I have to wait and be told what to do. So it makes your mind go into a mode of service. And something that's not your mind directs your way forward. I call it love, but there are, I suppose there are layers to it. But it's love because it's not it's more of a sense of something rather than a thought or an idea of this would be a good idea to do. It doesn't come from the mind at all. For people who if they get what I'm talking about, love is actually movement. That's what love actually is. If you go back to the origin of love, the very first movement of pure consciousness, that's love. That's what love is. And that's why it's so known to all of us. But our mind has turned a crazy version. Its understanding of what love is how we operate in the world. So it's like I'm inviting you to drop into like movement itself can only be loving. And it's the other layers that we put on it that makes it, I don't know, modify or dilutes it into something else. So it's pure movement that arises from someplace else. You'll find that that is love.
Very good. Thank you.
Do you think you can access it?
Yes. Actually, I find that to be very automatic, not so much willingly from my own expression of, so I will maybe call it an involuntary act when it shows. I mean, I have nothing to do with as I, the I that I think. So it seems to have an appearance of its own.
Yes.
It's not like I access it, I can access it, but it shows eventually.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so the next layer would be to recognize what mind does with it. Can mind be of service to it? Can you hear what mind is saying about it, as well as having that guiding your way forward? See if you can have both present.
Okay. Bringing mind into it, will it label it again? Will it?
Yeah. As soon as you start to recognize it, oh, that's coming from a deeper place. That's coming from my love center. It's coming from a deeper place. Okay, now mind is already active. It's like, all right, mind's already active. It's labeling it, and it sees this as a good thing, and it sees this as progress, and that's all fine. It's all fine. But that's just mind doing its thing. Now, okay, mind, I hear you. And let this thing be in charge. Let's not own it, claim it. Let this thing be in charge. So it's about training your mind to serve it. And you literally have to, that's a neurological thing. You literally have to train it. It's how does your mind operate when it's not self-referencing, when it's not making it all about me. And that's what...
With that you're saying, the idea of either surrender or allow it. Allow it.
Yes.
manifest as opposed to, okay, I'm labeling now, be aware of that, but let it be.
Yeah, and still let it flow, still let it do its own thing. Let's see what happens. And it just puts the mind in a very healthy place of surrender and serving that which your divine essence.
Yeah, and if that happens, you lose control a lot of so many things, but life is still unfolds beautifully.
Yeah.
Without your intervention as a self person.
Yeah, it's much looser. You'll feel much more fluid, easier, adaptable. Oh, much easier.
Thanks so much, Jac.
Sure, you're welcome, sweetie.
Thank you, Lucero. I'm going to mute you again. And let's see. I'm going to bring on Max. Let me find you here. Max. Okay, you're unmuted. I just need to find you on the... There you go. Okay, Max.
Yeah. I said I'd, strengthen the Irish brigade today.
Yes.
Yay. Well, I don't have any questions. I'm just here. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have joined the Google Hangout. I'm just here to be present.
Yes, totally fine, Mags. It's totally fine. It is what it is. How could there be a right and a wrong?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people that's totally fine. Some people just come onto the Hangout because they feel something's more kind of direct there. So that's fine. So welcome, Max. Let's see. I'm going to unmute Trevor. Trevor, you're on.
Thank you, Grace.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Trevor.
Hi, Jac. My experience with this sort of unconditional or sort of unconditional love thing, where sort of love takes over. My experience is it's a case of me getting out of the way. Over the past couple of years, I've had what I would call heart expansions, which have just been me by myself, and it's just happened that it's been more
beautiful.
Than the air.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, drop to your knees sort of stuff. The first time it happened, it went on for about 2.5 hours, and it was impersonal.
Yes.
It was for the world. It was, love, compassion for the world. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about... I think I was watching a YouTube clip about some poor children in Africa, and it just exploded. And that's happened a few times. And it seems like it's a sort of continuing expansion.
Yes.
And it's nothing that little Trev triggers when it happens again. So in other words, in a situation with somebody, it just happens. The heart takes over.
Yes.
Nothing to do with me.
Yes.
I don't, and if I'm aware of myself, and ego steps in and tries to trigger something, and it just doesn't work.
Yes.
So that's my experience with the heart. Another question, another aspect, or another question I'd like to put to you is, I'm aware of, well, I seem to have energy raging through my body, and I'm naturally aware of sort of blockages in various places. And I mean, my way of sort of proactively trying to deal with those, and I'm not sure whether I should be, to be quite frank, but is to sort of gently rest awareness there and sort of make an inquiry, what's this about, and to try and go into that. So the question, I mean, that's my approach, but the question really is, should I be doing that, or should I just allow it to unfold? It's bloody uncomfortable, to be frank.
Yes.
So I'd like to do something about it, but then there's this whole, you know, who's doing what, and rather than allowing.
Yes.
What's your view on that?
Yeah, good question. When you bring awareness into a blockage, do you find something? Do you find a blind spot? Do you find something that you haven't previously unraveled?
It's just an energy thing. It's just an energy thing. For me, you know, perhaps. So nothing's coming up.
Nothing comes up.
There's no. I mean, this area is lovely and clear.
Yes.
I mean, for me, it's more about round here and you know, and there's sort of stiffness around here and all this sort of stuff, and it can be uncomfortable and occasionally painful. And there's obviously something somatically held there.
Yes. Yes.
But I can't poke it and make it come out. You know, so the question is, should I be going?
Yes.
For these areas, or should we just allow them to unfold?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Really? Really? I mean, it doesn't matter.
Really? I want it gone.
Really? Yeah. You see, that's it. Okay. You want it gone. All right. Now, I want to find out about that desire. You want it gone. Because it's not really about unblocking them. It's about the desire for them to be gone.
Okay.
I want to bring you to a place of it doesn't matter. And totally it doesn't matter. Not just it's a nice idea. Oh yeah, I'll try that. It doesn't matter. And that would just be denying it. Do you know? I'm after the desire for it. I want this pain to go. I want this discomfort to go. I'm after that desire.
So this is good. This is bad. I want this. I don't want that.
Mind will always say that's better than what I have now.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll find remaining identification.
Right.
That's the I who will be in the way. He will, and that I can create the discomfort, can create the pain. Mind will create it. You know, because the signal has to go through your mind anyway for you to feel that you've got discomfort somewhere. So your mind is creating it as a setup in order to give you something to be bothered about it, to create desire so that you want to get rid of it, so that there's a person alive who wants something better than what's there now. It's a beautiful setup.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts, the way, you know, I mean, there are all sorts of models you can apply to this, but I mean, essentially, it appears to me that sort of, you know, the body is somehow some sort of hologram of the mind.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes.
And that the mind is actually creating things.
Yes, the mind is using the body for its own purpose.
It's done in the past, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's done in the past.
Yes.
And effectively what I'm doing now is compounding it.
Yeah. The mind is using the body for its own purposes.
Yeah. Bit of a game, really.
Oh, completely. Sure, something has to keep the show going.
Yeah.
So dig into that desire, Trevor. Dig into that.
Yeah.
You know, to like, all right, what really, I'm totally buying that idea that I would be better off without that pain, that discomfort. Really, why am I buying that? What's going on here? And really look at that. Dig that one out and get rid of it so that you can see the bullshit that it is. Because mind will always, as long as you believe that loop, something is better than what I have here, mind will just give you something else. If it's not physical pain, it'll give you something else.
Yeah.
It's not about the energy being blocked. It's about the desire it's about that belief system that you're willing to identify with, believe, go along with, and it's motivating your action. You see, that's the problem. There is a belief system that's something, that would be better than what I have now. Like, that's actually not true. That's only true for the individual personalized I. So you've got to see through that part of glue that's holding him together.
I am the obstruction.
Yes. The little I is the obstruction. Yes. The little I is hanging around, giving physical pain to your discomfort to your neck.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. So even if there's something physiologically going on, it's going to find a resolution in a completely different way, or not, but your response to it will be entirely different.
Yeah.
But my take is that actually it's not going to be there at all once you pull out the desire for it to go.
Yeah. It's funny, you know, I mean, if, for example, I had a headache or a bad knee, then I would just be quite happy to let it be as it is. And would make no real comment about that. But because some energetic stuff is involved with you know, spirituality, then it's got to fix it. And there lies the problem.
Yes, there lies the problem. There lies the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, mind has pushed spirituality more important than the physical. It's really, what's not consciousness? The whole shooting gamut is, the whole thing is consciousness. Playing at different densities. It's all consciousness. It's all the same stuff.
Sure.
How can one be more important than another? Like mind does all those kind of value systems.
Good game.
Yeah, it's a great game. Yeah. So when that love comes, you know, it's like that wave of love, what you spoke about just before the question. When that wave of love comes, it's beautiful when that happens for people. It's just like, you know, your form is being used to bring that frequency of love into the densest part, you know, into human physical manifestation.
I mean, you know,
it's exquisite.
Absolutely.
Go there often. Just go there.
If you allow it, I mean, if the situation demands. I mean, recently I had there was a close family member died. And I've got to say, it was my sister when she died. The heart just took over.
Yes.
The whole room, the whole family, it was enveloped in it, and it was quite surreal, actually.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes.
Mm.
Hang out there a little bit. Even it will feel like that your mind is creating a memory of it, and that's where you're hanging out. Your mind is going to even try and hijack it. But just try and hang out there a little bit. Just try and hang out there and see, can my heart be that open so that flow is there at some level all the time? Play with that.
Jack, it generally is. It generally is.
All right, let's make that a bit bigger.
I've only got a little body.
Really? Only a little body? I think it'll cope just fine. What a beautiful thing to do, huh?
Oh.
To be a vessel for that frequency of love. Heck, beautiful. Go for it.
Pleasure, Jack.
Thanks for coming on, Trevor.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Jack. I'm going to bring on Tina. Hi, Tina.
Hello, Tina.
Hello, hi, Jack. I'm sorry. I noticed on the chat that Lee was in front of me, so I didn't know if.
Don't worry. Don't worry,
Take the space.
Tina.
Take the space.
I'm acting on higher orders here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Grace. Thank you. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Tina. Just keep breathing. Just keep breathing and let it flow. Let it come. Let it do what it wants to do, but just keep breathing. Breathing will help it to move more than anything. Just breathe. All right.
Thank you, Jack.
You're very welcome. Is there something you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I noticed I was in such a place of, like, I'm just like swimming in crap, like a lot of fear and despair. And I was wondering what would pure love do? And since I'm unable to do it for myself at this point, I thought I might ask you how you would model that for me. And just now your suggestion to breathe was very helpful. So, and,
Breathe again. Keep breathing. It's okay.
thank you.
Tina, take up more space in the world. You yourself reduced and shrunk to such a small space that there's no scope for expansion. Like, love is huge, and because you've yourself shrunk, because life has taught you that that's how you can protect yourself, because you've yourself shrunk, it's like love is like, okay, actually I'm in very small quarters here, let's just stay quiet. And fear is much more bold, you know. Fear is like, okay, I can play because I'm really about nothing, but I'll play. If she'll let me play, I'll play. Fear is just the absence of love. That's all it is. It's the absence of love. If you can allow yourself to take up more space and know that it is safe, your mind will tell you that it's not safe, that you're under threat in some way, but you're not. You're not actually. That's just an idea and it's not true. You know, if we have an incident in the past that was full of pain, we have an incident that was full of love, our brain, this is a scientific fact, our brain will remember the suffering one 20 times more than it will remember the loved one. 20 times. So we've got to work with that kind of dinosaur neurology that we still have. So just because your mind will run negative stories, negative experiences, it's not true. It's not true. There is nothing threatening you right now. Love is knocking on your door. But if your attention is so used to going on to fear, maybe it's time to like, okay, fear can be there, but there's love here too. Which one is the higher power? That's a question you're going to have to answer for you. We all have to figure that out for ourselves. Which is stronger, love or fear? Which one actually is stronger? You have to prove that to yourself. I can tell you the answer. Love is stronger, infinitely stronger. Fear has nothing. It just uses the body and uses all kinds of things in order to get more ammunition so that it feels more real. But it's a piece of nothing. But you have to know that for yourself, not just take my word for it. And Tina, love yourself. Have compassion for yourself. You've got to let love start with you. You know? So if you can do those three things, take up more space, physically take up more space, and own it. Own your space. Just practice it, you know? If you're walking down the street, okay, I'm just going to be bigger. I'm just going to take up more space. Practice it to like let your energy field, let your aura get wider, and something will begin to relax. We need your system to relax because that's where you'll find love. You can do a lot for yourself. So breathing, taking up more space. Figure out which inquire into it. Even like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep tonight and universe or God, source, whatever, emptiness, tell me, show me which is strong, love or fear, really which is strong. Start figuring it out. Work that one out for yourself. and have total compassion and love for Tina.
Thank you, Jack.
That's your homework.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, please do it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Oh, thank you so much, Tina. That's beautiful. Such courage in just being yourself. So let's see. I'm going to bring on Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, Patrick.
Patrick, would you like to ask a question to Jack? Or are you just watching? Looks like he doesn't. Patrick, if you do have a question, you got to ask it now. Now's your time. Okay. Well, I think he's not really. He's maybe not even watching on the Hangout.
Oh, he's got his hands up like this. Hi, Patrick. We can see you.
Patrick, we can't hear you.
Do you want to say something, Patrick? No? Okay. Much love to you. Much love.
Okay, all right. That was Patrick. So let's see. I'm going to bring on Sandra.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. I'm going to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself, Sandra? Because I'm not sure I can. There you go. You're on.
Okay.
Hi, Sandra.
Hey, Jack.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Recovering from a cold. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a question. I mean, I can just try and talk about what's happening inside right now. I end up with a lot of the self-consciousness that still runs.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's stronger in groups, but basically just sort of caring what people think of me and not trusting that I have the the solid boundaries to have a natural sense of self. And I don't know if that's just this laced in with with conditioning. Like there's a lot of judgmental thoughts and how to be a good person, and I'm sure everybody has these in different degrees of from your family, or what you're supposed to say or what you're not supposed to say.
Even spiritual teachers have it around, I'm not supposed to say that because I'm a spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
That one can last a long time.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny you would actually say that, because I even sometimes in metaphysical or spiritual or yoga circles, the line where spirituality became how to behave in a certain way, even I think of Buddhism, it occurred to me the other day that I thought, a lot of this seems like it just solidified into religion, and that the essence of it is just kind of like, I don't know where it is anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what my question is. I mean, I guess around healing.
Sandra, could we,
Yeah.
I wonder, could we just take a jump? Let's see if it will work. Could we take a jump? Because sometimes you have to go into things and heal them, and sometimes actually we can just shift a program and a lot falls away.
Yeah.
What would it be like to operate from freedom? To feel free? Phenomenally, like for the personality, because that's where this is caught. To feel free.
That'd be pretty nice, I would guess. I don't know what that would be like.
I'd like you to experiment.
Yeah.
And see if we can just do a high jump.
Yeah.
And give your mind another reference point.
Okay.
You know, if like, in one way I'm kind of trying to line up, and this is what we do. We line up the flow of pure consciousness with mind that's in service to it. And then when, you know, mind is full of its own story, our attention, there isn't enough attention bandwidth to be with pure consciousness at all, and we're just in story, and it becomes too strong. Okay, so one way is to, you know, allow it to be there and to heal it and to nurture it, and sometimes we've got to do that. But sometimes we can actually shift that mind loop, that just habitual thinking, and replace it with another one, which is healthier in terms of it serves, it's not so self-referenced, it serves the flow of pure consciousness. All right, that's what I'm after. So if you were to create a new mental habit, which was the feeling of freedom. I'm going to the feeling of freedom. So it's like, nope, there's no rules here. There's no rules. There's actually no rules. It's just freedom itself. And that was your mind's job, was to operate from freedom. It's like we're reconditioning the mind with something that will be less influential.
Yeah. Sorry, I sort of talked over you. What was the word you heard?
If we can, it's actually just conditioning the mind to operate with a loop of thought that is not so influential. You know, it's not so toxic as self-referencing can be.
Yeah. Give it a go.
Yeah, you know, it's sometimes we can do all the healing in the world and still the loops continue.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we literally have to we just have to develop new habits.
Yeah.
And that's why we meditate. That's why we do that, is to train the mind, to pull it in from its chaotic loops. But it just might work to like, no, I hear that crap going on, and I'm just going to go with freedom. Go with freedom, the boundless freedom.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I found like with thinking about things like self-honesty, often it's like where things seem to be truly lined up, and what she presents there's a split there.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's like, and I'm like, yes. Okay, why is she pretending all the time a certain way, a certain thing?
Yes.
And it's just a little odd, or not, you know. Yeah.
Just don't believe her.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't believe her, because to go into it, I'm not sure it works so well for you anymore.
It hasn't, basically. I find it just sort of like, it's like there's her going into it, playing with it, making it bigger. Great. But it's not honest.
That's not your way.
No,
it's not your way. No, it just gives fuel to the drama.
Yeah.
And with most people, it allows the drama to have some light penetrate it, and it's like, with most people, it's the opposite.
Okay.
You're wired a bit differently, Sandra.
And that would be why when I compare myself, because she'll compare herself to others, you know, and then be like, well, you know, it's almost like, well, they're playing with that frog. Why can't I have a frog?
Yeah.
And then it's like, ow, it's hurting me, you know, and others. You know, it definitely creates
Yeah, your wiring is different, Sandra. It's
Okay.
just different. That's not your gig to go into the pain to unravel it. Your gig is to unplug.
Okay.
And stay with the centered thing.
Okay. Okay.
Stay there. Let your mind feel freedom. Give it that role to serve what's present all the time with you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Don't read any healing books. Stay away from it.
Okay. Yeah, because
Stay away from it.
I mean, this is the social thing too. Is I'll go in a scenario. Oh, would you like to da da da? And I'm like, no, thank you. And that's all the conditioning. I just need to like. It is actually a very light energy that can say no or whatever, you know. But when she's trying to be something else,
Yes.
I take in. I'm just not very, what do you call it, authentic. And then later on, I have to kind of, I feel, makes me feel uncomfortable. That's all, just to be in my body and stuff because of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
You're very welcome.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
And you too. Yeah. Thank you.
Jac, I just want to check with you. There's 2 more people on the Hangout who haven't had a chance to connect with you. Is it okay if we continue for a little bit longer?
Of course, whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to bring on Alexander. Let's see, can you unmute yourself, Alexander? Hello? Yes, here you are. Hi, Alexander.
So basically, my name is Anna, and Alexander is my...
Oh, yes, Anna and Alexander. Hello, you guys.
Hi, Jac. So if I may, yeah. So it was very interesting to hear you speak about your experience of undressing and going to bed, when actually you had all these things to do on your computer. I had a very similar experience to that. Very similar, as in I'm into a hotel room where I was supposed to have still dinner and then afterwards go to bed. And I had exactly the same. I was undressing and getting into my bed when I suddenly realized. And I just couldn't make the story anymore. I couldn't pretend as if it was my intention to undress. Yes. I just couldn't. So it was like a flashback, reverse, something weird. And then I just had to laugh incredibly much.
Yes.
Like for half an hour. I was just laughing.
Yes.
Any story anymore my mind would come up with, right? Because I was confronted with it.
It was all moving. Yeah. It's all moving on its own. It's all doing it in spite of the mind imagining that it's making decisions.
Exactly. Yeah, and I found that much more often, that it's my mind who thinks, who gives me the thought, oh, I am doing this. Whereas I was already doing that before my mind came up with, like owning the situation.
That's
right. But so my question to you is that, like, that's how it felt for me. And that's how, like, also conceptually how I understand it. That actually everything is happening and it's just your mind trying to like own the situation and pretending as if there is an I who is doing all these things.
Yes.
But then you were saying that it was like at that moment you were acting from consciousness as opposed to acting from the mind, as if there are these 2 different ways of acting. One is from the mind.
It was the recognition of it. It's the seeing of it. No, that's what's significant. I'm not sure if I'm heard your question right, but that happens all the time. But the beauty of it is when we recognize that happens all the time, that the mind is playing catch up, that the movement comes from someplace else, and the mind is delayed in its imagined control, as if it's making decisions. Sure, it's not at all. It's always behind. But to see that. That's the magic, is to have the capacity to see that, because your mind can't see it. It's you as pure consciousness that sees it. The recognition comes from someplace else. And then your mind retrospectively picks up the recognition of it. And it's hilarious, of course. It's entertaining. It's that release that comes is wonderful. So we can know conceptually that it's always playing catch up. But actually having that awareness 24/7, that's the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my question was mostly up on this, whether there is actually a distinction between acting from consciousness and acting from mind. And as I understand your answer, no, there isn't. There is only acting from consciousness.
From the non-dual perspective, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I was even thinking of not asking this, because for me, the answer, I realized that, but actually like believing in those thoughts also creates a kind of energy, right?
Yes.
And that actually does influence how you act. So
It
in a
appears
way, yeah, there is something like acting from the mind, which is basically believing in those thoughts, which might somehow influence your actions in the future, which you might then want to call acting from mind. Am I getting clear? I don't know.
Okay. So from the dualistic perspective, yes, this is how it plays.
Yeah.
That mind can direct things. That is the reality of how the dualistic world plays. In the non-dual, it's all consciousness. Consciousness is making mind. Consciousness is deciding, you know, good and bad. Consciousness is doing, that's how it appears from the non-dual. And they don't actually contradict each other if you've got space for both.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
You see? It's like God. Sometimes that's the reality that's showing, that mind is in charge here. And sometimes the reality is that no, pure consciousness is doing mind. The danger, the only danger is to not kid ourselves. When we're being a jerk and acting out from our drama, to not use the concept of the non-dual, well, consciousness is just doing this.
No, yeah.
When that's the only pitfall, that's when it stinks. That we're actually not able to, we're defending it. We're using one thing to hide, one lens of perception to hide from the other. Come back to the space of not denying anything. And you'll know, okay, from the dualistic lens of perception, yeah, a decision was made. From the non-dual, sure, mind doesn't have the capacity to do that. But pull back from both and you will be able to tell whether mind was doing something stinky and it was looking after its own personal agenda. Still consciousness, but that's what the work is. Were we playing out something there from a personal agenda or not? And that's when the work comes in, you see? So it's like, see both, go prior to both and see both and have space for both. There's never a right or wrong, but the movement will always be to be as clear as we can. Something wants to be better. Something just naturally wants to manifest in a new way that's cleaner and lighter and further away from duality.
Thank you.
Does that answer it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Good. Good. Good.
Alex, you want to ask? No. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Should I mute?
Do you have one more, Grace, did you say?
I think Grace has disappeared, Jac.
The absence of grace.
What a terrible thing.
Yeah.
I actually have a question, Jac, if that's okay.
Sure.
You can hear me? My experience in meditation, when I'm present or being aware, that one of two things seems to arise to interrupt. Either there's an expecting something or a looking for something, or there's a sense of fear that I have to hold on, I can't let go. And then there's a commentary about it, and then commenter, and then I'm out of it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I realize that if I can see the fear arising or I can see the expectation, then I am not that.
Yes.
Caught up in it, and there you go. So I was wondering if you could comment on that, please.
Yes. The expectation. Okay, these are worth digging around a little bit. Sometimes we have to dig around and sometimes we don't. These ones I would leave because The expectation, there must be some deep-rooted belief that there's something better than this. So here's a really good thing to condition our mind with. This is as good as it gets. This is as good as it gets. This really is, and it is as good as it gets. There is no, you know, someday we're just going to die and it's more of this.